Government, if you run a department, small department, and you have a $200,000 budget, your incentive is to spend every dime.
You risk having a budget cut. So if you go through the year, you don't spend all of it, the next year you might get less money. So there's a negative outcome. And the other one is, all right, well, let's say take that off the table. What reason do I have to not spend all the money? There's no incentive to not spend the money.
I challenge the city manager to say, figure out ways of getting rid of this negative incentive, this incentive to spend every dime you can within the constraints of your budget. Figure out a way to incentivize departments throughout the city to save money and not punish them if they do.
We came up with the idea of what we call incentive-based budgeting, where if the departments would reduce their spending so that expenditures were less than revenues, then we would share the savings with the department on a 50% basis. The department would retain 50% of the savings for use in their next year's budget. This would provide council also with the opportunity to fund some of their priority capital projects that were not able to make it to the CIP budget. We developed this, we promoted this to the departments at the beginning of fiscal year 12, and it worked. The departments were able to save money, and we were able to share the savings with the department. We had a savings of about $1.9 million.
The body-worn cameras were purchased from budget savings from the 2012 fiscal year. The body-worn cameras is something that we started testing about 3 years ago in the downtown unit, and we were looking at them as ways to increase our transparency as well as the other benefits that the body-worn camera brings. They are really good when it comes to officer complaints. Obviously the officer is wearing a camera that's capturing every part of an incident, and these go a long way in helping us investigate the validity of a complaint. Another benefit of the body-worn cameras is their evidentiary value that comes along with them. Obviously the officer has a camera on them that's capturing an incident, and sometimes the actual incident itself may be caught on camera, or very important statements made by victims or witnesses can be caught on camera as well.
Well, we were fortunate enough to get $60,000 from the incentive-based budget funding. And out of that, we used $58,000 for projects that we put right back out to the public. Two of the projects were capital projects. We added some play features out at the Little Mates Cove at Twin Lakes. And then we did another project of resurfacing the tennis courts out at Albert Oakland Park. And one thing we always got a lot of comments on is how come we can't get wireless internet throughout the ARC? And we took and improved the internet access at the ARC.
We did a process that's called MAP. Mobilizing for Action Through Planning and Partnerships, and it's an evidence-based program. We developed a very detailed community health assessment that is available to anyone in the community, and then we put together a community health improvement plan. We use that as a stepping stone to how we make our city and county healthier over the next 5 years. And for a long time, we've been doing take-back days, prescription drug take-back days, where people could turn in their drugs, and one of the challenges is that you can only do them a certain number of times a year. You have to rely on federal agencies to have them incinerated. So the police department was great. They put up a box in the lobby of the police department, but it was getting full and it was becoming a challenge for them to figure out how to get rid of those drugs. So we were able to use the money that we had to purchase the drug terminator. It's an incinerator. We met an important community need by being able to have those drugs safely destroyed, kept out of the hands of young people, and give people a safe place that they can dispose of those.
Incentive-based budgeting has been a great program for the Columbia Fire Department. It's given us an opportunity to focus on 3 areas specifically. One is distance learning. Distance learning gives us an opportunity to keep our fire companies in station, in territory, which reduces our response time, allowing us to get to the emergency scenes quicker while still providing for a high level of training. Funds from incentive-based budgeting have been applied towards monitors, larger monitors that we can use to provide that training. The second area is grant fund matching dollars, and the third is gives us an opportunity to cover unexpected higher costs associated with equipment upgrades.
We thought, well, is this some fluke? We like to think it's because of this. We got to give it more years to find out. The second year it didn't happen, and that was, in hindsight, we realized a lot to do with cutting the budget. We had to cut $3 million out of the budget. So the third year didn't really expect to be able to pull it off because we've reduced our spend so much. Now you're saying, now save again, and will there be a benefit? So wonderfully enough, that has happened. Our audit is done, and McGladrey tells us we're going to see about $4 million this year. And so the first question is, well, was it this that did that? Or, explain to me what you think created that savings. And sure enough, they said, well, $600,000 of the $4 million was from unexpected revenue. Well, we don't have much to do with that. Unexpected revenues is out of our control. $3.4 million was in our control, and it was all about spending less than we had in the budget. So what we know is that the vast majority of that savings is from people spending less than they could.
The savings that we have from the general fund that flows back to the departments can only be used for one-time purchases because it is impossible to predict what your savings will be the next year. So you do not want to add positions and fund positions just to have to cut those positions in the next fiscal year. That would not be efficient use of your resources. This allows you to do one-time projects that will be funded with current year savings, so that when subsequent year savings are less than the current year savings, then you can adjust accordingly.
We look at profit at the city level differently than a company would look at profit. Profit in the private sector is money returned to shareholders. With the city, profit is the service. In other words, if we are diligent, if we are efficient with our expenses, we simply will be able to provide more service at less expense.
Be assured we're being good stewards with the money you entrust to us. We believe in fiscal discipline, live within our means, and do what you can to maximize the good that you can do in the community.